Hey, you, teacher, listen up. If I were to tell you that there are 4 ways to best manage behavior problems in your classroom and to prevent their occurrence, would you believe me? Well, lend a listening ear and I'll go ahead and let you know what those are. The first one is room arrangement. The second one, class rules. Third one, class chores. And the fourth one, opening and morning routines. Your room arrangement should be designed so that the teacher can, as Jones likes to say, work the crowd. Give yourself walkways and easy access to every child. The name teacher isn't code for an Olympian track star who knows how to jump over hurdles. Don't make this hard on yourself. We recommend using the letter U as your guideline for your classroom setup. This provides easy access to every child. And you can turn around and there's another child that you can assist. Second one, rules. Who likes them? Not I. But as a teacher, trust me, you will learn to love them. Give your general rules, your standards, and expectations, but remember to keep them few in number. Kids don't like too many. And then, there are the procedure rules or specific rules. These will be your best friend, and I promise you it only takes you 2 weeks to properly and successfully drill these into your kids. Chores. Ugh. No one wants them. But everybody wants a job and to feel important. So we recommend that you assign students a job. This helps them develop a sense of responsibility. And the last one, opening and morning routines. Did you know that 5 to 8 minutes every day are wasted at the beginning due to morning announcements, tardies, and all that jazz? Well, here's a tip. Give the students bell work. This requires no active teaching from the teacher. This includes review questions, warm-up problems, brain teasers, silent reading, and journal writing. Get this going and you are guaranteed to have an easy morning start. Did you know that how your body language is can alter the class dynamics? Well, it can. But with Jones's 5 body language tips, I promise you your class dynamics will run so smooth and positive. First one is proper breathing. Breathe slowly and deliberately before responding to all situations. Always take 2 seconds before you talk to little Billy, who has been misbehaving all day. Eye contact. We all have that look. You know, the one that our moms gave us when we were acting up? Use it. By turning and pointing both of your eyes and your feet toward talkative Tina, this will show her you are committed to discipline and that you mean business. Third, physical proximity. You remember when we were children and we were misbehaving at home, and all you needed to do was hear your dad's truck door shut, and you knew that it was time to shape up. Well, the same thing goes for us as teachers. Just by simply walking around by little rambunctious Randy, we'll get him right back on track real quick. Lastly, our body carriage and facial expressions. Don't show your students that you are tired, because if you don't care, why should they? We as teachers need to hold ourselves as if we were the king or queen of England. Perfect posture and those occasional facial expressions that show you are human. A smile, a laugh or two, maybe even a serious face when the time calls for it. They like to know that you are human.
Before we go any further, let's take a moment and review what we've learned. We've gone over Jones's first 2 skills of classroom structure to discourage misbehavior and limit setting through body language. How are they working out for you? Are the students more into the lessons, or are they still disengaged and misbehaving? Well, I got great news for you. We're going to go ahead and introduce the third skill, which is here to save the day. And that is using say, see, do teaching. Now, Jones says that many teachers beyond primary grades spend major portions of their classroom periods presenting information to students while the students remain relatively passive. Finally, towards the end of the lesson, students are finally asked to do something with the information they have received. So in essence, the teachers provide input, 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 input. Then finally, the students provide output. Does that sound fun to you? Well then, what we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to go ahead and mix it up. We're going to become more effective teachers. And in order to do that, we're going to put the students to work from the very beginning. We're going to put all the learning on them and all the responsibility on the students. They will present the information and then quickly have students do something with it. This approach is doing oriented, with activities occurring often at short intervals and is depicted as following: teacher input, student output, teacher input, student output, teacher input, student output. Jones explains that he calls the approach say, see, do teaching. The teacher says or does, the students see, and the students do something with the input. This approach greatly reduces the amount of student fooling around because the students are kept busy while the teacher circulates and interacts with students at work.
Now that we've looked at the say-see-do teaching method, let's take a moment to look at responsibility training through incentive systems. Frederic Jones says an incentive is something outside of the individual that prompts the individual to act. This can be in the form of a preferred activity such as a learning game or some other enrichment activity. However, it's important to remember that preferred activities are never free time. They should be structured and the teacher is a participant. In order to make the best use of incentives, teachers should carefully consider the following: Grandma's rule, student responsibility, genuine incentives, preferred activity time, educational value, group concern, ease of implementation, omission training, and backup systems. Let's briefly touch on what all of these are. Grandma's rule states you have to finish your dinner before you can have your dessert. When applied to the classroom, this rule requires that students first do what they are supposed to do, and then for a while after, they will be able to do what they want to do. Jones believes that incentives, when used correctly, can help everyone take responsibility for their actions. For example, one way students can show responsibility is through cooperating with others. However, cooperation is voluntary and it is difficult to force anyone to cooperate. Jones suggests that when students show responsibility by doing what teachers ask them to do, it is because teachers have used encouragement and incentives rather than trying to force responsibility through nagging, threatening, or punishment. There's a difference between what teachers hope will be incentives and what students actually consider to be incentives. So it's important to take a few minutes at the beginning of your semester, present your students with options for preferred activity times, such as learning games or other activities, and ask them what their opinions are for what they would prefer for their preferred incentives. Preferred activity times are times allotted for an activity that can serve as an incentive. Preferred activity means that this activity is one student enjoys, such as learning games, activities, or projects, over most others. It's important to also consider the educational value of the incentives that you present your students. Make sure that your incentives promote and supplement your instruction, rather than hinder or just fill time. Jones emphasizes the importance of making sure every student has a stake in earning the incentive for the entire class. This group concern motivates all students to keep on task, behave well, and complete the assigned work. However, you will always have those students who don't want to participate in the stake in keeping the incentive for the class. Those you can deal with a backup system, and we'll touch on that in just a moment. Incentive systems will not work unless they are easy to implement. Jones suggests 4 ways to keep the implementation easy. First, establish and explain the system to your students. Second, allow the class to vote from time to time on the approved activities they wish to enjoy during incentive time. Next, keep track of the bonus time students have earned for preferred activity time. And then finally, be prepared when necessary to conduct the class in low preference activities for the amount of time that students might have lost from the time allotted to their preferred activity. Next is omission training. Omission training is simply a way to help punish an individual student for misbehavior versus the entire class. This can include timeout, thinking time, or having a student sit in their desk while others are engaged in the preferred activity. Lastly is backup systems. Jones suggests backup systems which are hierarchical arrangements of sanctions intended to put a stop to unacceptable student behavior. Jones identifies 3 levels of backup. First is low backup systems. For example, as a teacher works a crowd, they are able to camouflage their small backup responses by speaking privately or semi-privately to students, such as, "I expect you to stop talking so we can get on with our work." Low-key messages to students help students know that teachers mean business. Whispering privately is a constructive way to protect students' dignity. A medium backup system are those sanctions that we all grew up with and that any student in the classroom can see, such as loss of privilege, staying after school, and parent conferences. Large backup responses require at least 2 professionals, usually the teacher and an administrator, and deal with chronically repeated disruptions or other intolerable behaviors. These responses include trips to the office, in or out of school suspension, special class, or a special school.
SOS! Help! We all have these kiddos who always need our help right after instruction. Jones found that if there are 3 or 4 students that need help, that is okay. But when the whole entire class needs help, you are about to have a bunch of crazy cats on your hands. So save yourself with these 3 steps. First step, organize your class so that each student is within easy reach of you. We suggest a loop or a horseshoe arrangement when providing whole group assistance, or a kidney table when providing a small group assistance. This will give you easy access to get to each kiddo. Second, visual aids. Use anchor charts, graphs, models, anything that the kids can visually see. When taught properly, the student should be able to refer to these before asking the teacher a question. This will help them become problem solvers. And lastly, the third step. Help them, but only help them by jogging their memory or providing another example. Ask questions about the steps that you assigned and said to the whole group during instruction. Take Jones's advice when he says be positive, be brief, and be gone. Be positive in the sense that when the student answers a question properly or provides feedback that is beneficial to the entire group, praise them about it. Be brief. You won't always be there to hold their hand and to provide them specific instructions every day of their academic career. Be gone. Once you have provided these steps, walk away. Let them activate their prior learning.
So hey you! Why should you utilize Frederic Jones's methods in your school or your classroom? Well, that's easy. Frederic Jones implements different systems and skill clusters that help to minimize misbehavior in the classroom before it starts. These include organizing your classroom effectively, limit setting through your body language, using the say-see-do teaching method, implementing responsibility training through incentive systems, and of course, being able to provide efficient help for all students in your classroom. So, take a second and ask yourself, is this something that I can easily implement in my classroom or my school? I think you'll find the answer is yes.